Have you ever wondered what the horrors of trench warfare in World War I was like? Artillery constantly raining down on you, the muck and mud and grime of the trench entering your very flesh, and an inescapable horror. Well, Trench Face is a game that helps explore that in a desolate world filled with monsters. The trenches of World War I are the perfect environment for horror games due to the hopeless nature that you cannot escape them without dying. The claustrophobia of being in between just two dirt walls that seem to surround you, or the wet and festering surroundings of men who have long since lost their will to live. And I believe that Trench Face is a game that tries to encapsulate this environment, and it encapsulates it perfectly. Trench Face is a game made by the developer Pulse Blue, and I'll link him and his other works in the description. But you start off the game by choosing from one of 4 separate classes, plus 2 extra ones that we'll talk about later. But you choose one of these classes and you name it whatever you want, or you leave the name exactly how it is if you're a lazy fuck. But starting the game after choosing your class, you're given some rudimentary lore, as you're told that all the soldiers were equipped with a brand new type of gas mask, where wires are placed to connect your face to the respirator of the mask, essentially sewing it onto your face. And you're not allowed to remove them, and if you try, you'll be beat mercilessly. And then we're also told that the only way to remove the mask is with a lock on the back that must be opened by a key, which is only held by supervisors. And that's when we're told we have to find a village full of wounded and medics that has a key to get our own gas mask off, before finally ending off with mentioning weird ropes rising from the air around us. But after that quick lore introduction, we're finally sent off in the actual game to start, and we spawn into the trench. We walk around for a while, exploring and looting barrels until we find a key to a bunker and a whole dead cow. We collect its hide and we carry on until instead of finding the red bunker, we find a white bunker and enter, where we go through a black void and see a strange beetle, which is the merchant of the game, where you can buy and save. And we go ahead and save. We also will get most of our healing items from this merchant, but we finally exit the bunker and continue exploring, trying to find our way back to the red bunker so we can use the key until as you're walking through the trench, like a jump scare, the first enemy of the whole game shows up. And I'm gonna be honest, when I first played the game, this scared me halfway to death. But you're suddenly thrown into the fight with a person that looks like a fellow soldier, but they're strung up by weird wires or ropes. And you don't have any option to run away or talk to them. You must fight. And this immediately sets a precedent for the rest of the game, that the only way to solve anything is through either violence or avoiding these enemies as a whole. But after we beat him, we continue on to the second trench, while also grabbing a gun, which is a rifle, and suddenly we're in the whole game. And we're just trying to explore and get new items, all the while we're being attacked and harassed by many more enemies, just like the one we saw. But we continue along the path until we reach another red bunker, and we open it up and we enter. In the red bunker, we find a note that describes how the masks these soldiers wore carried an area for them to use a stimulant that helps keep them awake for many, many days. But if the stimulant is abused, it will eat away at the very flesh of their faces until it reaches their bones. In the room, we also find an orange key, which we pick up, and then two enemies enter the room. And this is one of the harder fights in the whole game, simply because one enemy is already a decently deadly and difficult battle, but two is incredibly difficult. I can say I died my fair share of times on this. Nevertheless, we're able to push through. And with our orange key, we continue on, we leave the red bunker, and we go throughout the trench exploring and fighting enemies until we reach the orange bunker. And in the orange bunker, we get our first experience with touchable barbed wire, which is very deadly and causes bleeding if touched. So you have to avoid it as you walk through more and more of this weird bunker. And something skitters closer in the background until now. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'd be lying to you if I said I knew any of the lore the mother might have. But what I do know is that seeing this thing is absolutely horrifying because it just randomly pops out at you, and it sure can take a beating. It takes many shots, many hits, and the limbs each take a hit on you. But eventually, you're able to kill it. And if you continue on after killing it through the bunker, you will reach trench number 3, which has a slightly different hue, but a strange voice in the background that keeps repeating the same numbers over and over. And these numbers are so annoying to hear because it just keeps repeating it over and over. But you continue on around trench 3, exploring, finding weird walls that if you touch, they seem to be made out of the same material as a human tongue. But eventually, you make your way out of trench 3 and you reach trench 4, where you find the source of the noise, which is a strange radio tower, which you then turn off, and all the tongue walls just simply go down and away. Also though, I want to quickly talk about the whale, which is a very interesting boss type enemy that's held up by the same ropes we've seen all throughout the game. But it can kill you very quickly with its special attack that chomps down on you. But I just want to mention that quickly. And with the tongue walls down, now we can go down a new path, climb out of the trench, and finally we make it to the village we were told about at the very beginning of the game, and we finally find the key that opens our mask, which we waited all this time for. And then you take off the mask only for it to reveal your rotting face underneath. And this is more likely than not due to the use of the stimulant that we heard about earlier. But also, along with taking off our mask, we get a bit of lore about our own character. We hear someone talking to presumably our character, as the main character tries to join the military of their nation. But the recruiter turns them away due to the character's age, and the recruiter says, "Go outside and have another birthday. That won't work here." Which I personally think means either two things. The recruiter was telling them to go outside and come back just saying they were older, or to actually go just have another birthday and enjoy being a child before they ever try to join the military again. But we continue on through the area, seeing a note saying if we go left, we can get more stimulant. So we go down the path as we fight new enemies called sick men, which are very durable, but are also just a reskin of one of the earlier enemies. And we go through the trench heading left until we make it to an area filled with many, many dead cows and a cabin which we enter. We're met in the cabin by a fellow soldier who thinks we're one of the many monsters that we've seen throughout our excursion. And with our new face, we look much more monstrous than usual. And so, we fight him to the death. which honestly isn't that hard of a battle, but it does have an amazing battle theme. Just listen to this real quick. Yeah, that's probably the best battle theme in the game, but after we beat him, another strange creature falls from above as its wires and ropes dwindle down. But we quickly dispatch it while the fire theme still plays. That just makes this entire boss fight an amazing experience. And after defeating the weird creature, we walk up to a cabinet behind it and finally open it, only to find a child. After that though, we hear the sounds of other soldiers outside, so we quickly tell the child that those soldiers outside are friends, and we tell him not to come out of the closet no matter what. We head outside to greet them, only for we're shot dead by the group of soldiers, who walk in and open the cabinet again, only to recruit the young boy into the military. And that was Trenchface Ending A. From what I've gathered, Trenchface is simply an RPG Maker game that doesn't go too in-depth on its world, but I believe it's clearly meant to be a commentary, like All Quiet on the Western Front, about how it isn't grizzled men who are shipped off to war, but instead young idealistic boys who will soon only know horror. There are also 2 other characters in the game you can unlock after beating Ending A, with one being the Flamer, which is like the guy that we fought in the cabin, and honestly the class is pretty bad, and also the Rat, which is just a giant rat that can actually get you to Ending B, which is the exact same as Ending A, but you can't speak, and the soldiers try to shoot at you, but fail because you're a fast rat. But that's essentially Trenchface. Thank you for watching my video. Maybe throw me a cheeky like and a cheeky subscribe, and let's move on to my outro song. Hey everybody, this is my outro song. I hope that you do sing along. I'm the Moth Maker, and I make content. Please give me money. I need money. Please subscribe. I don't have a dime. I have really, really bad rhymes. Please subscribe. This is the outro song. The outro song. The outro song. This is the Moth Maker outro song. Please subscribe. I don't have a dime. If you give me a little bit of your time, maybe subscribe and give me a dime. A dime, a dime, a dime, a rhyme. I got bars from Mars. Girls go to Jupiter to get more stupider. Boys go to Mars to get more bars. That's what I'm saying. My name's not Lars. My name is Mothmaker, and I take time to make these videos, and I spit bars, rhymes, and hymes, and lots of things. So please subscribe and have a good time. Bye.